Today, Pocket History will be talking about Cleopatra. Yes, that Cleopatra, the legendary last pharaoh of ancient Egypt. Yes, the controversial figure of ancient times is once again controversial because according to a Netflix special, she is a black woman or a black biracial woman. And this has caused experts all over the internet to go crazy, calling blasphemy, blasphemy. How dare you suggest that an African kingdom had a black woman as its queen? But wait a minute. Before you tell the critics and the experts they're wrong, there is something very important to understand about the actual pharaohs during this time period. This is during the Ptolemaic time period where Greek men, yes, Greek men were the ones who ruled Egypt. So when we look at Cleopatra's family tree, what do we find? We find Greek white men. And this is why so many experts have said, of course, she must be white, because the men in her family are white and Greek and proud of it. So what happens though if we look on the other side? If we said, let's not focus on just the men's side of the story, what if we look on the messy women stories of the wives of the Greek pharaohs? Would you be shocked to learn that a very common practice at the time was for the Greek ruling class, the warriors, the officers, the knights, the governors, for the ruling class during their foreign military conquests, they would marry foreign wives. You say, no, that's impossible. That's crazy. Greeks marry Greeks and they only have offspring that are Greeks. Then how do we explain what Alexander the Great himself did? He gave 10,000 wedding gifts because his Greek officers and soldiers, they married Persian noble women. Yes. When we look on the women's side of the story, it's messy and it's just not as simple as everybody wants. Those who want Cleopatra to be black, unfortunately, it's messy. Those who want Cleopatra to be white, unfortunately, it's messy. So let's see if today we can unmess the entire story and bring some clarity to the conversation. So one of the things we must understand if we're going to have a intellectually honest conversation about Cleopatra's family tree is that if you were the wife of one of the Greek pharaohs who ruled Egypt, you had to take one of three royal names. Bernice was a name taken by 4 queens. Arsinoe was a name taken by 4 queens. But by far the most popular name, taken by 8 queens, is Cleopatra. And yes, the Cleopatra we all know and love, the one who was pharaoh and stood against Rome, she was not Cleopatra the first. No. She was in fact Cleopatra number 7, and her daughter was Cleopatra number 8. That might be shocking news to you, but if you don't understand this, you will frame the conversation in an incorrect way. Now, you might be thinking, that's on the female side. Is there a naming tradition on the men's side? Yes, there is. Every Greek pharaoh had to carry the Greek pharaoh royal name, which is Ptolemy. So those who are on fire, the last 4, those are the ones that were invested in civil wars where brothers and sisters were killing each other. But there are 8 generations of Ptolemy rulers in Cleopatra's family tree. So when we look on the male side, we have 8. And when we look on the female side of her family tree, guess what we find there also? We find 8 queens in her family tree. In order for us to have an intellectually honest conversation about the ethnicity of Cleopatra, we're going to have to take into account not only the ethnicity of the men, but also of the women in her family tree. And what we will discover when we look at all 8 generations is the story on the female side gets messy, and it's why most historians avoid it, but not us at Pocket History. So let's start it off. Ptolemy the First. This is the beginning of the 9 generations of Greek Ptolemaic rulers of Egypt and Israel and Syria. This kingdom was founded between a Macedonian Greek man, that's white, and his 4th wife, Bernice the First, right? And we'll be going more in depth in each of these couples in the upcoming videos. But today we want to give you an overview. So it starts off Greek father, white, Greek mother, white. Their offspring is a Greek son, Ptolemy II. He is a white Greek Macedonian man who marries a white Greek Macedonian woman, Arsenio. And Arsenio the First and Ptolemy II, they have a child together. White Greek comes together, creates a son that's white Greek. So you're seeing a pattern here, right? Now, what most people do is they take the pattern of the first 3 to 4 generation and apply it to the entire 9 generations of Ptolemaic rulers, which is just not honest. And that's not what we're going to do today. So we have the third, we have Ptolemy III and Bernice II. And when they marry to Greek father and mother, they're going to bring an offspring that is also white Greek. This is where everybody goes, aha, like I told you, they're Greeks marrying Greeks. All of their kids are white. Cleopatra is white. But then we get to the 5th generation. Now with the 5th generation, Ptolemy V, his kingdom was falling apart and he had to go outside of his family circle and he had to go to the Persian side to find a half Persian, half Greek wife. Meaning that Cleopatra I, her mother was 100% Persian. What does that mean? Does that mean she's black? Does that mean she's white? Does that mean she's brown? What it means is she was not Macedonian Greek. Okay? And so Persian Empire was large, it was very diverse, and whatever level of diversity she brought to the table, she brought to her kid. And so when you're looking at the 6 generations, you're seeing that Ptolemy the 8th, which is the child that comes out of that union of the first Cleopatra, that child has a Persian, Greek, Macedonian heritage. If that child was to do a DNA test, it will show that there will be 2 points on the map. One will be Macedonia, one will be in Persia, right? So Ptolemy the 8th, he marries Cleopatra III, the daughter of Cleopatra. And what does this do? What this does is it continues the Persian Greek mixture, right? So that's why you have a Persian Iranian combination in the DNA pool right here, right? So now when we get to the 7th generations, things get a little bit more messy, because what ends up happening here in the 7th generation, after a massive amount of civil war where siblings were killing each other, Ptolemy the 9th actually marries. Not only does he marry his sisters, he has 2 wives that are, Greek, 100% Greek Persian mixture. He takes on a Egyptian black wife, the Kemet, the name they gave themselves before the Greeks came in and renamed their country Egypt. the Kemet Egyptian woman he married allowed him to have a son with them, and they used to call this son the bastard son because he was not going to actually be up for any royal titles, and he was never going to be the actual son that is the crown prince. But thanks to the family civil war continuing and brothers and sisters killing each other, he became the last man standing. And so, wouldn't you know it, Ptolemy the 7th, or the 12th, sorry, Ptolemy the 12th, he's actually the father of Cleopatra that we know, Cleopatra the 7th, and because he was the last man standing, he became the crown prince and then the pharaoh. Not only did he marry a Kemet woman, a black Egyptian, he made sure to marry one that was the daughter of a priest, thus getting the love of the people, the Kemet people of Egypt. So when we look on the 9th generation, what we see here is that for the first 4 generations, it becomes really easy to say, you know what? The Greeks, the Macedonians, the white people who was ruling Egypt in North Africa, they were all Greeks, they were all marrying each other, siblings marrying siblings. For sure, it means Cleopatra is white. If you stop at the first 4 generations, you're right. Unfortunately, history is a little bit more messy, and Cleopatra is the 9th generation. And so here you have an injection of diversity that comes into the conversation, and that injection of diversity is why Netflix is actually not wrong. Believe it or not, look it up for yourself. We're going to be citing our sources in the description so you can do your own research. And we will continue this part 2 where we go a little bit deeper into each of these women, their stories. And their stories are juicy, messy, amazing stories, so that we can have a clear, intellectually honest conversation about something that shouldn't be controversial at all. Cleopatra, legendary, controversial, beautiful, brilliant, was biracial. Thank you so much for joining us here at Pocket History. Catch you on the flip side.